On this episode of Civic Hub, we're joined by the Sheriff of Fort Bend County, a leader dedicated to protecting one of the fastest growing and most diverse communities in Texas. Our conversation dives deep into his efforts to support mental health, both inside the department and across the county, and the critical warning signs that can help identify and protect victims of sex trafficking. We also explore how collaboration, compassion, and proactive policing can strengthen trust and lay the foundation for a safer, healthier community. Okay, so today on Civic Hub, I have the honor of having Sheriff Fagan from Fort Bend County on. Sheriff, thank you for coming on. Just give me a quick introduction and tell me about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Eric Fagan. I'm the Fort Bend County Sheriff. I think the 45th Sheriff of Fort Bend County. I started my career in law enforcement with the Houston Police Department. Did 32 years there. Was blessed to do 32 years at the Houston Police Department. While being there, I worked in a lot of different divisions, but the last place I worked was on the Mayor's Protection Detail with Sylvester Turner.
Wow. So the Houston Police Department must be one of the larger police departments in the United States.
Yes, it's one of, not the largest,
Right.
but one of them,
One of.
over 5,000 officers.
Wow. Now, when we talk about Fort Bend County, give me a little kind of demographics. I know it's a very diverse place, but what's the size of Fort Bend County? What's kind of the policing requirements? How large is your force?
Well, Fort Bend County is one of the most, if not the most diverse counties in the nation, not just the state, but in the nation. I have over 21 cities inside of Fort Bend County. I'm responsible for the protection of people in Fort Bend County in unincorporated areas. And what I mean by unincorporated, places that doesn't have a municipality or police force there in that area. And there's more unincorporated areas in Fort Bend County than there are incorporated. The county is, like I said, very diverse. But it's kind of even, 25% South Asian, 25% African Americans, like 31% Anglo. It's kind of even all the way around. And then the other 25%. So we're pretty much even, which is a beauty of Fort Bend County.
Very cool. When you look at kind of, policing is in the news every single day. It's got to be very challenging and very difficult to be in law enforcement in 2025. What are some of the challenges that you see being in public safety now versus when you started your career, decades ago?
There are a lot of challenges now. When I first started, no one heard the term human trafficking or understood it really. But believe me, it was there, but we didn't really understand it. We looked at the workers of human trafficking as criminals, as prostitutes. And so we were after them. But learning more and getting more knowledge about human trafficking, majority of are victims. So law enforcement had to catch up to learn about it, look at them at victims. One of the reasons I ran for office, the administrations before me, one of the sheriff at the time made a statement that human trafficking didn't exist in Fort Bend County. Well, we have 59 and I-10, a corridor, freeways, corridor where the trafficking is taking place the majority of the time. I couldn't believe that statement. Well, when I took office, now this is my second term, we've arrested over 165 human traffickers, rescued over 60 victims of human trafficking. So we had to bring in different aspects, not just law enforcement. We reached out to the psychological community to bring in counselors to talk to the victims because they had a certain thought about law enforcement. We were threatening to them. They wouldn't open up so we can get the people that would force them into it. They wouldn't tell us what's going on. So we had to bring them in. So we partnered up with the medical community. We partnered up with the DA's office, bringing DA investigators out on our operations, bringing those mental health workers with us to those operations. That's how we attack that problem and still attacking it today.
If someone's listening and they're being victimized in this vicious cycle of trafficking, what's the best course of action for them to reach out to maybe your office or a professional to get out of it or to get help?
The best thing I could tell them to do is to reach out to law enforcement. Don't believe that we're going to look at you as a criminal. We've learned, we understand now that you are a victim. Some people in human trafficking, the ages go, it's a horrific crime. It's modern day slavery. As young as 10, 12, 16, young people, young people. Human trafficking is not $1 million operation. We're in the billions, almost trillions of dollars now. But you have to think about it. The big thing back in the day was narcotics, getting drug dealers. But think about it. I can sell you cocaine one time, but I can sell you a human being over and over and over again. Human trafficking is getting larger than the narcotics industry now. So it's something that we have to work on constantly. And it's something that we have to work with all parts of law enforcement and entities. We work with the federal government as well, FBI, DEA, all these things. And one thing that we're working with now that a lot of people we didn't do before, but we're learning now, we look at the financial institution. And a lot of people say, why are you looking at the financial institution? Well, a person all of a sudden becomes a multimillionaire, but they can't explain where that money came from. It's coming from that type of interest, that type of, I hate to call it a business, but the crime.
Yeah, that activity,
That activity.
criminal activity.
So now we're looking into financial. We're working with banking institutions to let us know when somebody comes in with a large sum of money.
Are they pretty receptive to that, or are
Yes,
you
they
getting some
are.
pushback?
Yes, they are. But not just here, but internationally. Internationally. Crime, especially when we talk about human trafficking, is worldwide. We can't look at it as just here in Fort Bend, but Fort Bend, Harris County, LA, New York, Texas, California. We have to look at it internationally. Over in Japan, China, over in Russia, London, England, they're all connected. You'll be surprised. So we work with everybody, financial institution, medical, federal, state, local.
Yeah, actually, where I live in South Florida, there was a gentleman that was on Interpol's Most Wanted for human trafficking, and he had a lot of gall. He was squatting in a house in the Florida Keys, but he was so arrogant, he was actually subletting the house while he was squatting in it.
Yeah.
He was writing leases. Just complete psychopath.
Yeah.
That he was renting out someone else's house while he was living in it, wanted by Interpol.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's interesting that you haven't had any sort of pushback. Is there any advice that you could recommend to people who might not have as easy of an experience with getting other entities to kind of integrate into that process?
Well, as far as pushback, human trafficking is such a thing that more and more people, if we get them educated about what's actually going on, you really don't have that much pushback. And the ones who are pushing back, they're usually involved in it. Human trafficking is something that can be right next door to you, and you don't know it. We've arrested human traffickers who actually worked in law enforcement. Arrested human traffickers who actually worked in our public schools. Human traffickers that's in the medical field, in the clergy. Your next door neighbor could be a human trafficker. It's just so widely spread out.
Are there any red flags, if people are listening, that you could share that might want them to, see something, say something?
Pay attention if your next door neighbor always have like a lot of cars coming to his house at night, and only people coming out of those cars are males. Or early in the morning, you see a van there, a large vehicle there, and you see a bunch of women and children coming into that van, going to that van, and they drive off. If you see foil up in the windows, they trying to hide out. Burglar bars. that are on the inside instead of the out, and the lock is on the outside. What does that tell you? They're trying to keep somebody inside. But the main thing I want you to do is contact us. Let us investigate those type of things. Because some of those things, like the fall in the winter, the lot, it could be legit. Some people are, so let us do the investigation. But these are signs you should see, especially the one I told you about. You see a lot of cars coming late at night, and only people coming out are males.
Yeah, increased traffic.
Increased traffic. And then in the morning, there's a van. And then you see they loading their van up and leaving.
So you say reach out. What's the contact method for your office? Website, phone number?
Phone number. Call universal number 911.
Got it.
And just call and let us know what you saw, and we'll send people out there. I have a human trafficking squad at my agency now that we didn't have. We work with the DA's office and my office as well. Brian Middleton, our DA, works hand in hand with me. Before I became sheriff, the DA's office was the main one doing that. Should have been our responsibility,
Yeah.
but the DA office was doing it. So when I became sheriff, we started working together, but not just with the DA. Like I said, federal agencies, we brought them on board.
Very good.
On the other end of the spectrum, is there any advice that you can give just to the public on how to not potentially become a victim of human trafficking? Because I've seen a lot of viral videos where people are like, oh, someone's following me, or if you see this in a store,
Yes.
say something.
Pay attention to individuals who are trying to do something for you for no reason. And I want to talk to parents as well. Those cell phones, there are many computers. Pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to your daughter or your son. And let me make that clear, your son. Males are being victims of human trafficking as well. But pay attention to little things that your daughter has started to dress more provocatively now. Never wore makeup before, but now all of a sudden she's wearing makeup. Pay attention to behind her ear. And the reason I said that, you know how we brand cattle? Well, human traffickers, they brand their individuals. And they place these brands, tattoos, but they're called brand in the industry, behind the earlobe or on the inside of the lip or between their toes. Human traffickers know where to look to see if that person is branded. And why would you have a number for a brand, for a tattoo? Why would you it's just different things. They're not only numbers, they use different signs like a butterfly on the inside of the bottom lip. Things like that, pay attention to. All of a sudden, your child become withdrawn, don't want to talk to anyone. Think about that. I told you as young as 10 years old, a 12-year-old child wearing makeup. Sex is something that if you're not prepared for it, it can traumatize you. And that's what it does to that child. And that child becomes withdrawn. Grades start going down. They don't want to talk to anyone. Or all of a sudden, it's the opposite. They become violent from a simple touch that the mother and father usually hug their daughter or son. But now all of a sudden, they don't want you to touch them. They get scared or anything like that. That's something to see. And also law enforcement, we're being educated. When we stop someone on traffic and another person's in the car, a female or something, we ask for ID. She doesn't have the ID. The male driver gives them the ID. The female won't talk to us at all. So what we do now, we separate them. First thing, that's my uncle. That's my grandfather. Okay? What's your aunt's name? She couldn't say it. Then you go ask that male. Things like that, little things like that are key. But like I want to make this very clear, call law enforcement. Let us do the investigation.
Got it. So besides a really heightened focus on human trafficking, what other initiatives or highlights do you want to share from the Fort Bend's
Fort
Sheriff?
Bend County Sheriff's Office, we are real big on now the drug epidemic, fentanyl. That's been killing our young people and older as well, but especially our young people more and more. People don't realize just a pinhead amount of fentanyl can kill an individual. I'm proud to say that we put together this drug task force that we took off the streets of Fort Bend over 1 million pills, over 1 million pills of fentanyl off the streets of Fort Bend. That amount of fentanyl on, if it would have got out there, could have killed everyone in Rosenberg, Richmond, Sugar Land, and Missouri City combined. We took that off the street. We also took off the street over 6,805 pounds of narcotics, working together with DEA, working together with other agencies. We've taken off 157 firearms off the street. I started a group called the CREW, Crime Reduction Unit. This is a group of officers with a supervisor that when we see a spike in crime in a certain area of Fort Bend, we send that whole unit to that one area. And it's not a Band-Aid. They go there and just say they arrest one person and then leave. No, they stay there until that crime rate goes down. That's something new that we started at Fort Bend County. It's called the CREW, Crime Reduction Unit.
If there was a message you could share with other sheriffs and other law enforcement agencies across the U.S., what would it be? CREW sounds like a good one. What other insights would you give them from your tenure in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement now going on 41 years. The main thing, and majority of law enforcement agencies are doing this. We need to collaborate. We need to talk more, not just with us, but with other entities, especially the mental health area. Talking to doctors. I'm my education. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, but my master's degree is in juvenile forensic psychology. And doing my intern there, I had to work with a psychiatrist and did psychological evaluations on individuals before they went to court. So I understand mental illness a little bit more than what a regular officer would. But I'm also blessed to have a daughter who's a doctor who happens to be a psychiatrist. So she also tells me about certain things. So Fort Bend County had a crisis intervention team. That's a certain team of officers who are specially trained to handle or to help at a mental health call, somebody with mental illness. But that team only worked on day shift until I got there, and I made it a 24-hour. Because mental health doesn't stop at 5 o'clock, starts at 8 and stops at 5. Another thing, in my jail, a lot of people don't realize this, that a person with mental illness that goes to a jail, they'll stay in that jail 6 times longer for the same crime with somebody without mental illness goes to jail. And people wonder, why is that? Well, in a county jail, you have to follow certain rules. But if you have a mental illness,
it's probably hard.
It's hard, and they break those rules. And this is something I want all law enforcement agencies to understand. And it's not their fault because we're just now learning about mental illness. But one thing I did when I became sheriff, I said no longer will we file any extra charges on individuals who breaks the rules because of that mental illness. Look, they have illusions, auditory illusions, also visual illusion, where they'll hear a clock and they think that clock is telling them something. Actually think the clock is, and a deputy might be telling that person, look, I need you to move. If you don't follow that rule, well, we can place charges on you for not following it and give you more time. That's not fair. Let's say you had asthma in my jail, and I didn't have asthma, and I was in the jail. But I gave you, you're going to stay in it. We both did petty theft. I'm going to do 3 months, but you're going to do 12 months because you have asthma. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Mental illness is just that, an illness. Now, don't misunderstand me. If that mental illness hurts one of my deputies, harms one of my, I'm going to file charges. That's different. But I'm talking about little minor things. throwing water on you or something like that, we're not filing those charges, not paying attention. If they're diagnosed with a mental illness, that could be a reason why they may be hearing something else. They look, and there's signs. They're looking away, nodding their head, and you see there's nothing there. That's a sign. That's a sign. Or they don't want to be touched. Some people with mental illness, if you touch them, they get very erratic and things like that. These are signs. And law enforcement, we're playing catch up, learning about these things. We thinking they're attacking us. They're not. They're trying to be safe.
Or having a trauma response.
For a trauma response, yes. And like I said, we're catching up. We're learning more and more about mental illness. So that's something I want to reach out to all sheriffs across the state, across the nation. Look into that about not filing extra charges on these individuals because it's their illness. It's not the person, it's their illness that's making them act out.
Yeah. I think I actually just saw a headline yesterday. So we're currently sitting in Dallas, Texas, and I believe the Dallas County Jail is actually full, which was a headline because it hadn't been at full occupancy in a while.
Yes.
How is the occupancy of your jail? And do you see a correlation of criminal activity and mental illness? Do you see a high percentage of folks coming in with mental illness?
Yes, I do. When I took office in 2021, my jail was averaging between 550 to 600 individuals. I'm up to over 800 now. Over 40% of those individuals coming to my jail has been diagnosed with some form of mental illness.
Wow.
But statistics says if you're in a room with 7 people, maybe 3 of them most likely have some form of mental illness. I said right now we're over 40% of diagnosed. But what about the individuals that are in my jail who have not been diagnosed? So that percentage is actually higher.
Yeah.
And I know that. And they know that because they haven't been diagnosed. We have to, not just in law enforcement, but throughout our country. We have to take away that stigma from mental illness. Take away that stigma. It is just that if they get the proper medication and treatment, it's just like any other ailments. Your diabetic medicine, your high blood pressure. If you take that medicine, it'll bring it down. It's the same with mental illness.
Very good. Any other questions, Linda?
I was going to ask, I guess, in relation to the mental illness, like what resources are available to people if they are diagnosed? Do they have access to that medication?
Yes, I actually have a psychiatrist on staff at my office, and we also work with Texana. I had a grant that I had a mental health worker in my dispatch. A lot of people saying, why do you have a mental health worker in your dispatch? Because when a person calls 911, if I have a mental health person sitting there beside the dispatcher, they can hear that this person is in crisis. They understand. And so that's a good thing. And so that way I know I can send a CIT officer there. And another thing I want to say about the CIT, now every officer at Fort Bend County is trained in CIT. They have to take classes in CIT, how to recognize mental illness. Not just my CIT group, because I have a special group, but I want every officer to learn about mental illness. So
and what is CIT?
Crisis Intervention Team.
Okay.
Crisis Intervention. But now every officer, state law in Texas, they have to take a certain amount of hours. But at Fort Bend County, we go over that amount to make sure that our officers can recognize it. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm nowhere near where my daughter is. She is a psychiatrist. I'll never learn that, but we're learning more and more. And we're blessed that the medical community is reaching out to law enforcement to teach us those things. It's sad to say that it was almost like a death sentence for someone to call the law enforcement on a mentally ill person.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, we didn't recognize it. We saw it as a threat. And sometimes deadly force was used when it necessarily didn't have to be used if we were trained the proper way to handle that situation.
Very good. When you look out, we're a technology company and everybody is adopting new technologies. Everybody's talking about AI and generative AI. From a policing standpoint and a public safety standpoint, do you see AI being adopted and used? And then on the flip side of that, do you see criminal enterprises and criminal activity around AI?
AI is a great technology, but like you said, it's a double-edged sword. Law enforcement, we have to be, we're short-handed. So what do we need to do? We have to work smarter, not harder. So we're bringing more technology to law enforcement, especially in Fort Bend County. We're working with, before I became sheriff, they didn't have body cameras. Now we have my officers with body cameras, and that's a great thing.
So prior to 2021, there was no body cams in Fort Bend County?
No. Well, not Fort Bend County. Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office.
Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office. Got
Because
it.
Missouri City Police had it, Sugar Land, but
Got it.
and we're the largest. They didn't have it. So
Wow.
we have it now. But that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The reason I say it's a good thing, sometimes people call in on a complaint on an officer, said the officer was rude or that officer hit them. Well, my policy, anytime you do an interaction with a person, you have to have that body cam on. Well, that can exonerate that officer. And majority of the time, a lot of times it does. Also, though, it can show that that officer did do something wrong and it helps the citizen. So it's a good thing. And then when we come to AI can help us solve a lot of cases used properly. We're starting to use it, but AI can be a dangerment too. I have a team that we call it ICAT, Internet Crimes Against Children. These people on the web, they use this to make them sound like they're a kid talking to another kid, make them come out and meet them and do, you know, you can know what they do. They having sex with children. They 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 use AI for that, acting like they are a young person, another young person, and get them to come out. Well, guess what? And I want the criminals to know we're using AI now too. You may be thinking you're talking to a child, but you're actually talking to one of my detectives. You tell that child, we'll bring some alcohol with you and also bring a condom. Meet me at Motel X. And they come. We have these operations going on all the time. We've arrested over 35 individuals at this one operation that we did. 35 individuals. They came with the liquor and the condom. Then when they get there, oh, no, but you brought the stuff. We have it. And what did we use? We used AI. So my detective sounded like a child. They thought they were talking to a child. So, like I said, AI is a good thing. Uh, we use fusions. We work with businesses to have them put up cameras in their locations where we can see things going on right away. And it's not, I want people to realize it's not Big Brother looking at you. We use this for crime. We actually caught a murder on film. On film, we actually saw the person being murdered. They were there to buy a TV from a guy, but he was setting them up. But we arrested that person within 24 hours because of those cameras being up. We had the license plate, everything right there. The show 48 Hours.
First
I hate
48.
that. Yeah, I hate that show because everybody think we can arrest people within 48 hours. Sometimes we do. Don't get me wrong, but they want those results right away.
Yeah.
But this fusion camera, if more and more business would allow us to put these cameras up, it did solve a case, a murder case, but within 24 hours.
Wow.
So technology is important. We have to bring more technology because we're shorthanded. So what do? We use that technology to help us.
What are some of the common misconceptions that the general public has about law enforcement or public safety that you'd want to address? Is it that what you see on the crime TV shows is only half true? Is it, you have a lot of counseling and
Well, what I want the public to realize is that law enforcement, we're a part of the community. Most of the officers, deputies that work at the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office, They actually live in your community. That uniform doesn't make us a robot. We're human beings just like you. We're there to help you. We want to help you. So if you see an officer, walk up to him or her and just let them know that you appreciate what they're doing. Also utilize us. At Fort Bend County, I have a program called You're Not Alone. You're Not Alone. What this program does is for elderly individuals or people who have some type of intellectual deficiency, uh, sometimes autism or dementia, things like that. Well, you can sign up to be a part of You're Not Alone. And what that is uh, we have individuals, volunteers that come in and we'll call you. More and more people are living alone, the elderly, because they, the family, the children that grow up and they move away. Well, the parents are still there by themselves. And so they sign up to my program and we'll call them 3 times a day. If you don't answer the phone on the third call, we send a unit out there. And that's a good thing. A lady in Fort Bend County had broke her hip and fell down. She signed up for our project, You're Not Alone. She didn't come. She was on the floor for about 2 days. The day that we called once, no answer. We called twice, no answer. Third time, no answer. We sent a unit out there. She was on the floor with a broken hip. The phone was less than 5 feet away. But just think, if she didn't sign up for the You're Not Alone, she couldn't have reached her medication. She couldn't have gotten any water. She couldn't get to the phone to help. People who called, they would assume that she just probably was away from home or something like that. There are parameters to be on You're Not Alone. When you do go on vacation, you have to let us know. If you don't let us know, the third call, we'll be coming to your house. But that was a good thing that she signed up.
Yeah.
And somebody was there. So those deputies actually, I feel like, saved her life.
Yeah, 100%. That's an amazing program. What do you see as, right now we've talked about fentanyl, human trafficking. What gets you excited to be the sheriff in Fort Bend?
What gets me excited to be the sheriff of Fort Bend is helping people and bridging the gap. And what do I mean about bridging the gap? Especially with the young people. I have a program that I started called JJAX, Juvenile Justice Academy, at my agency, where young people come to our office and sit down with officers, and they sit and talk. And a lot of people think, why are you doing that? In law enforcement, we've made mistakes, and we have to own up to that. And we don't always have to have the public come to us. We have to go out to reach out to them. These young people see things like the George Floyd incident, the young lady who was stopped on traffic with a cigarette, then she ended up dying. All Breonna Taylor, all these different things, they see that and they hear. And so what does that make them do? It make them call away from us. I go visit schools. It broke my heart one day when I asked a student, what should you do when you see a law enforcement officer? This young man told me, run away. And I was like, what? He said, run away. He said, I'd rather be alive than dead. I was like, why would you say that? Then he brought up those names I just brought up to you. So I had to kind of own up. Those mistakes did happen. It shouldn't have happened. But we have more good officers than bad. And so I started JJAX. It's where kids can come in and sit down and talk to us. And we can ease those fears. And also, we have to make the public understand when an officer does something wrong, you have to report it. You have to report it. And I made it easier for them to report it. If you're afraid to come to us, go to LULAC and file your complaint. Go to any entity, a church, or anything like that. We'll accept the complaint from anyone. It doesn't have to be from you. It can be through a third party. Now at the sheriff, we'll accept those and look into it. And why is that important? Because I'm a sheriff and I stopped her and I made her feel uncomfortable. Well, then I'm gonna stop your wife. I'm gonna do the same thing I did to her to your wife, and then my wife. I'm gonna do the same thing to her. Her. What does that do? That shows a pattern. Since she made that complaint, now you made that complaint. Then my wife. Wait a minute. No. This is a pattern. We see that pattern. That's why we need individuals to be partners with us. I want the community to be partners with us so we can get those bad apples out. So that's something we're doing at Fort Bend, opening the door, being more transparent. I want this to continue at our office.
Very good. Any final questions, Linda?
I think I'm good.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's been an amazing 30 minutes. You know, you've shared some great insights, some
Mhm.
great projects, educated the public, you know, on certain things to look for and when to reach out and to build a better community and to bridge that gap, because I think law enforcement is probably one of the most challenging careers in 2025, and what you guys do is honorable and extremely challenging. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Mic check. It's co-file Chris with the clarity, breaking down the system like a tech barbarity. Civic Hub's live surfing knowledge like a tsunami, rolling through the info smooth Maserati. Civic vibes, we innovate and elevate. Local government shift, let's recalibrate. Tech meets transparency, the gap we abbreviate. Civic Hub anthem, come participate. Street lights buzzing, city halls we navigate. Machines in the council throwing out the candidate. Blockchain buzzing, Chris gonna moderate. Algorithm steering votes, lines automate. Plug in, gather round this pod like it's holy. Future blueprint drafted digitally solely. Ideas hatch quick, think it's gotta be Goldie. The Civic Hub thrives where the minds all moldy. Policy precision sharper than a switchblade. Red tape slayer, break it open with the upgrade. AI council, tech dreams don't cascade. We building the future, bricks cut from the data spade.